we've known that there's been a drop in the uptake of the MMR vaccine for around the last 5 to 10 years, but certainly during the pandemic, that has dropped further. And we've had a significant drop from about March 2020 onwards. And unfortunately, that's gone down to below a 90% uptake, so 1 in 10 children being unvaccinated. I think in part it's relating to the COVID-19 pandemic. A lot of parents were worried that the NHS wasn't open, or they were worried about, catching COVID during a routine vaccination program. But I just want to reassure people that the NHS is open and has always prioritized routine immunizations in children. And in terms of protecting you against COVID-19, the doctors, nurses, staff are all wearing PPE, and we're ensuring that the waiting rooms are as empty as possible by staggering the schedules for the appointment time. So please do come forward if you have been invited for your MMR, or if you have missed it, please do contact your GP practice.
Was one of the main reasons for this decline during the pandemic, particularly because COVID was so all-encompassing, we completely forgot about things like measles, mumps and rubella?
I think, yes, of course, where COVID-19 has taken, such significant foreground, a lot of other things have seemingly become neglected. And I totally appreciate that that is one of the possible reasons. I would hope that a lot of parents still received all of their invites for their children's MMR vaccinations. But I do appreciate that there are going to be parents that, were too worried about bringing their children in at the time, and absolutely no judgment about that. It's just that now we're open and now it's safer, it's time to come forward.
What are some of the complications if young children get measles, mumps or rubella and aren't vaccinated?
So measles particularly is highly infectious. So if 9 out of 10 people that are exposed to it become infected if they're unvaccinated. And whilst for a lot of people, the symptoms will be, fairly mild, there can be some really significant, serious consequences of it. Ear infections, chest infections, diarrhea, dehydration, but things like brain infection and inflammation and the lining of the brain becoming inflamed, like meningitis, for example. And this can go on to create long-term disabilities and serious consequences, including death.
Well, just remind people how they can find out about what they should do if they are worried about this, and how parents can get their children vaccinated.
So if you're at all unsure if your child has had their vaccinations, the first thing to do is consult the Red Book, which is your childhood record, and have a look in there to see if they've had their MMR vaccinations. If it's unclear to you, you can speak to your GP practice and they will be happy to go through it with you. Contact your GP practice if you'd like to book in that vaccination. And if you want any further information about the MMR, you can go to nhs.uk MMR.
Are there any fears, particularly when it comes to talking about vaccination in general, with an anti-vax brigade that there is out there spreading information online, misinformation, that transcends into other vaccinations now, and people will start questioning something that we've had for decades?
I really think that, misinformation around vaccinations comes from a place of fear and maybe a lack of understanding. And I think it's really our role to reassure parents that vaccinations are the safest way to protect their children against these otherwise potentially catastrophic conditions. And also just to offer more guidance and knowledge about measles, mumps and rubella, about vaccinations. I really think it's all about education and support rather than kind of shaming in any way.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Sara, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.